Hey everyone, welcome back. It's time for another deep dive.
Yeah.
And today we're looking at something pretty major, the 2025 inauguration of Donald Trump.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you guys sent in a ton of stuff, articles, speeches, even some like insider reports,
Yeah.
all about this moment in history. So it seems like you're interested in more than just the ceremony itself,
Mm.
right? You want to know about the celebrations, the global reaction, and what another Trump presidency could actually mean for America?
Yeah. It's a really interesting lens to look at inaugurations. They're always full of symbolism. But this one, with Trump returning to power, it feels even more significant.
For sure. Okay, so before we get to the actual inauguration, let's set the scene a little bit. The
Mm.
source material keeps mentioning Trump's campaign and this whole division thing. It's clearly supposed to be this big unifying theme.
Yeah.
But what does the vision actually mean? What can you tell us about it? And what might it tell us about the direction of a second Trump presidency?
Well, the vision, as it's shown in these sources, is kind of interesting. It's like walking a tightrope. On one hand, it really emphasizes unity and bridging divides, which is pretty normal for inaugurations.
Right?
But then on the other hand, it also talks about projecting American strength globally, which kind of echoes some of the more, assertive parts of his first term. So it's making people wonder how those two ideas will actually work together.
Yeah.
Will it be more collaborative or will it be more America first?
Right.
It's definitely something to watch closely.
Yeah, that tension is super interesting. I can already picture the news people, picking apart every word he says, trying to figure it out.
Absolutely. Every little phrase will be scrutinized for clues about the next 4 years.
Totally. Okay, so we've got the vision and all the questions that come with it. Now let's jump to the main event, Inauguration Day itself. Our sources say it's happening January 20th, 2025 at the U.S. Capitol.
Uh-huh.
Pretty standard stuff, right?
Yeah. The when and the where, they follow tradition. But don't think for a second that it's just routine.
Okay.
Think about it. The oath of office, taken on those historic steps, it represents the peaceful transfer of power.
Right. It's a reminder that American democracy continues.
Yeah.
Even with all of the political chaos.
Yeah.
It's a powerful moment, no matter who's taking the oath.
You know what? You're so right. I was going to gloss over that, but it really is a powerful image. Okay, but now I want to get to the fun stuff, the performances.
Yeah.
We're talking inaugurations here. There's got to be some entertainment.
Well, according to the sources, they're going for a mix of traditional patriotic tributes and then a celebration of culture with a diverse group of performers.
Ooh, celebration of culture. That sounds interesting. Like maybe they're trying to show a more inclusive approach this time around?
Yeah.
But wait, there's this one detail that really jumped out at me. Donald and Melania Trump, their iconic dance moment and its significance. What do you think they're going for here? Are we talking like a viral dance challenge? A super choreographed routine? Or something else entirely?
It's hard to say without more context, but I doubt we'll see the president doing the latest TikTok dance.
Based on past inaugurations, this probably means the first dance between the president and first lady at one of the inaugural balls. These dances, they often become like symbolic representations of their partnership and kind of set the tone for their public image as a couple.
So it's not really about the dance moves. It's about the visual storytelling?
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
a way to send a message about their relationship and their leadership style without actually saying anything. Think back to some past inaugural dances. Remember the Obama's elegant waltz or the Trump's more formal first dance back in 2017? Each one told a story.
Wow, I never thought about it that way before. It's like choreography is political messaging.
Yeah.
So we've got the ceremony, the performances, the parade, the balls, the whole inauguration spectacle. But let's zoom out for a second. Why does any of this even matter?
Yeah.
What's the point of all these traditions and rituals? I mean, they're nice to look at,
Yeah.
but is there a deeper meaning here?
Now, that's where it's really interesting. I think this source, it talks about three main reasons why inaugurations matter: unity, global impact, and cultural significance.
No.
First, they're supposed to be like unifying moments for the whole nation.
Right.
A fresh start.
Okay.
It's a chance to acknowledge the peaceful transfer of power and to come together, no matter your political beliefs.
Okay, I can see that. The whole shared national experience thing.
Exactly. And then there's the global impact. The whole world is watching,
Yeah.
analyzing everything,
Yeah.
trying to figure out where America is headed. Inaugurations send a message about America's role on the world stage.
Right. It's like the whole world is holding its breath,
Yeah.
waiting to see what a second Trump presidency will mean for international relations, especially after his, shall we say, unconventional approach to foreign policy last time.
Exactly. And then finally, there's the cultural significance. Inaugurations are steeped in tradition and ritual. They represent the hopes and dreams of the nation,
Yeah.
and they give us a glimpse into its evolving identity.
It's like we're watching history unfold right before our eyes.
Yeah.
Which is pretty exciting. Speaking of history, I can't help but wonder how this particular inauguration might be different from past ones. I mean, Trump coming back to the presidency after a break,
Yeah.
it's pretty unusual, to say the least. Do you think that will affect the tone or the messaging of the event?
It's hard to say for sure, but I think it's safe to say that this inauguration will have a different feel than a typical first-term one.
Right.
There's a whole added layer of his previous presidency, the policies he enacted, the controversies that surrounded him, and then there's the current political climate, which feels even more divided and polarized than in 2017. It'll be interesting to see how those factors play into the messaging
Yeah.
and how the public responds.
Yeah, it's like we're not just inaugurating a president. It's like a whole new era of American politics.
Yeah.
Okay, I got to ask, any predictions for the inaugural address? Will it be a victory lap, a call for unity, or more of those America First policies?
Well, if we look at Trump's 2017 speech, it was all about American carnage and putting America first. But with the current political climate and all this talk about the vision, I wouldn't be surprised if he tries to sound more unifying this time, at least on the surface.
Okay.
But I also wouldn't be surprised if he brings back those themes of economic nationalism and taking a strong stance on global issues. It's going to be a balancing act for sure.
Yeah. It's like everyone's trying to read the tea leaves and figure out what the next 4 years will be like.
Yeah.
But, beyond all the speeches and political analysis, I think there's something really human about inaugurations. These traditions, the rituals, the shared experience. It's like we're tapping into something deeper.
Yeah, our need for ceremony and connection.
I totally agree. There's a reason these traditions have lasted for centuries. They give us a sense of continuity, of shared history that goes beyond individual presidents and political parties. And they offer a moment for us to reflect.
Yeah, to think about what it means to be an American, regardless of who's in the White House.
You know what you just said reminded me of something. The source material mentions that Trump's presidency aims to bridge divides. But with how divided things are right now, that sounds like a huge challenge. How do you think that message of unity will be received?
Right.
And will it last beyond the celebrations?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? It's one thing to talk about unity in a speech. It's another thing to actually make it happen. It'll be interesting to see how that actually plays out, especially with so much political opposition.
You give us a lot to think about. We've talked about the historical context, the
Gotcha.
global implications, the potential for unity, and even our human need for these kinds of events. But before we wrap up, I want to shift gears for a second and talk about something a little lighter. The music.
Okay.
We know there's going to be a mix of patriotic tunes and a celebration of culture. What kind of performances do you think will really connect with the audience, both the people there and the ones watching around the world?
That's a great question. I think the performances that really hit home will be the ones that can balance honoring tradition with reflecting what's happening right now.
Right.
Maybe we'll see a classic patriotic song, but with a modern twist, or a new artist who embodies the spirit of a new generation, or maybe a performance that shows off the richness and diversity of American culture.
I can already picture it. The lights, the music, the energy of the crowd. It must be incredible to actually be there, feeling all of that history and the excitement for what's to come.
It's definitely an experience that sticks with you. The sights, the sounds, the speeches, it all blends together to create this powerful moment in American history unfolding right before your eyes.
Okay, so we've talked about the big picture stuff,
Yeah.
but I'm also curious about those behind-the-scenes glimpses that were mentioned in the source material. What do you think we'd see if we could peek behind the curtain of this huge production?
It's easy to forget just how much work and coordination goes into an event this big. From security to the stage design, everything has to be planned out perfectly. Imagine the teams of people working around the clock to make sure everything runs smoothly. The speechwriters crafting every word. The choreographers perfecting every move. The stylists agonizing over every detail of the First Lady's outfit. It's a massive undertaking. A real testament to human ingenuity and teamwork.
It's like a giant, perfectly choreographed dance.
Yeah.
With hundreds, maybe even thousands of people working behind the scenes to make sure everything flows perfectly.
Exactly. And I think it speaks to our human desire to create order and meaning out of chaos. Inaugurations are like a carefully crafted ritual that helps us celebrate our shared identity and reaffirm our belief in democracy, even when things are uncertain and divided.
It's like a reminder that even in a world that often feels chaotic and unpredictable, some things remain constant. But speaking of change, I keep thinking about that line in the source material about the inauguration reflecting the resilience of American democracy. What do you make of that?
Well, I think it acknowledges the fact that American democracy has been through a lot throughout its history. It's a system that's designed to adapt and change, to handle different viewpoints and leadership styles. And even though there have been times of intense division and conflict, the peaceful transfer of power has always happened. It shows the strength of the system and the willingness of Americans to participate in the democratic process.
It's like a reminder that democracy is a journey, not a destination. It's messy, it's imperfect, but ultimately it's about the people and their ability to shape their own future.
Exactly. And I think this inauguration, with all its unique circumstances, offers a particularly interesting way to look at the state of American democracy.
Right.
It's a moment for both reflection and anticipation, a chance to think about where we've been and where we might be going as a nation. You know, we've talked a lot about the big themes like unity, global impact, and the resilience of democracy. But I'm curious, what about those smaller moments?
Yeah.
Those human interactions that make up this event?
Oh, I love that you brought that up. I was just thinking about that. Those are often the moments that stay with us the most, aren't they? The smiles between strangers, the feeling of awe as the new president takes the oath.
The cheers from the crowd, it's those little things, those human connections that make these events so special.
Absolutely. They remind us that even the biggest events are ultimately about people, their stories, their hopes, their dreams. And for the people who get to be there in person, those moments become personal memories woven into their own lives.
It's like we're all part of this shared story, this ongoing story of America. And this inauguration is just one chapter in that much larger story. Speaking of stories, there's one aspect of the inauguration we haven't touched on yet. Amidst all the speeches and ceremonies, there's always this unspoken language of fashion at inaugurations. I mean, remember all the buzz around those purple inauguration mittens back in 2021?
Oh, yeah.
What do you think the fashion choices at this inauguration will tell us about the tone and style of a second Trump term?
Oh, fashion is definitely a way to communicate,
Yeah.
especially in events like these that are so symbolic. It's a way to project a certain image,
Yep.
send a message, even signal a change from the past.
So what kind of message do you think Melania Trump will be sending with what she wears? Well, Melania is known for her really polished and elegant style. I wouldn't be surprised to see her in a designer gown,
Yeah.
something that shows off sophistication, and maybe even a nod to American fashion. You know, it's a chance for her to step back into the spotlight and show off her personal style on a global stage.
And what about Donald Trump himself? Any fashion predictions?
I think we'll probably see him in his classic power suit, probably a dark color like navy or charcoal gray. It's a look that says strength, confidence, and a commitment to tradition.
I can already picture the fashion critics dissecting every detail.
Mm-hmm.
The designer, the cut, the color, the accessories. It's a whole other level of analysis.
Oh, for sure.
But, beyond the fashion and the symbolism, what I'm really curious about is that feeling of anticipation, that sense of being on the edge of a new chapter in American history.
Yeah.
What are you most interested to see happen as Trump's presidency begins?
For me, it's how he'll handle this really complex and divided political situation. You know, we've seen so much change and upheaval in the past few years, and the country is really divided. How will he address that? Will he try to be a unifier, or will he go back to that populist rhetoric that we saw in his first term? The choices he makes now will have a big impact for years to come.
It's a reminder that inaugurations aren't just about the pomp and circumstance. They're about the promise of leadership and the potential for change, for better or for worse.
Exactly. And it's up to all of us as citizens to engage with that promise, to hold our leaders accountable, and to help shape the future of our nation.
I love that. The idea that we all have a part to play in this ongoing story of American democracy. We've covered a lot today, from the campaign trail to the inaugural balls and all the symbolism and meaning packed into every moment. But as always, the most important takeaways are the ones that you, our listener, take from this deep dive. What stood out to you? What questions are you thinking about?
We encourage you to really think about what we've discussed, to connect the dots, and to come to your own conclusions. After all, that's what makes these deep dives so interesting, the chance to explore complex ideas and form our own perspectives.
And who knows? Maybe this conversation will spark some new insights or questions for you, things you hadn't thought of before.
That's what we love to see. So as you think about this inauguration, keep asking questions, keep exploring different points of view, and keep diving deep into the issues that matter to you.
And be sure to tell us what you think. Leave us a comment and share what stood out to you from this deep dive into the 2025 inauguration of Donald Trump. Until next time, keep learning, keep questioning, and keep those brains buzzing.